Okay, so somebody requested a video on buffs, so I just kind of want to break this down to you a little bit. There's a variety of different kinds of buffs, and I'm going to cover the two basic types, one of which you may never see, and then the other that you can either purchase or activate depending on what you've gathered or the monsters that you've killed, or even, Merlin, who's hanging out here. So you can check out the buffs a variety of ways. You can either click on your castle from the outside, or you can click on it from the inside and go to City Buffs. You'll notice I have a couple activated. I typically try to keep the castle that's holding my resources buffed. Not buffed, but, well, yeah, buffed even. Buffed and then with a shield. Now, the reason being is depending on what you're holding in your castle, let's say you're holding food, you'll want to be down here with the upkeep production. So depending on how many troops you have, you'll definitely want to put that into place, because otherwise they'll eat through all of your food, and then you'll be very angry and hostile, and then you'll be forced to attack people for food. So I personally try to gather what I can on my own. If I'm attacking people for kill event, and I happen to come upon somebody that's holding a bunch of resources, yeah, I'll go after it. But I don't typically harvest from other people. That's just my personal rule. Play the game however you want. Gathering speed, really important. If you're out gathering, right now we have a couple of things going on where you can gain different items based on your gathering. So this impacts when you're on tiles. So you want to gather as fast as possible on tiles, especially if you're trying to also incorporate that into the upkeep reduction. So if you're gathering a whole bunch of food and you're trying to get as much as possible, go ahead and put that into place. That way you can gather as much food as quickly as possible, as well as not spend a whole bunch of food because your troops are pigs. March capacity. I like this one when I have enough troops. This one will incorporate additional troops compared to your regular troops. So if I use this, sometimes when I have troops, currently I don't have the troops, I'll use this 12-hour March capacity boost of 25%, but then I'll also go to my talents, and you'll notice I also have increase your March capacity by 10% for a 30-minute period. So if I'm out attacking, I'll couple those together. Those are really important to me because it gives me the most amount of troops at any given point. If you get hit by somebody like with 185,000 troops, I'm going to guess, unless they're just Mr. Billy Badass, they're probably using some buffs as well. And since I'm right here, I'll go ahead and talk about these as well. I personally only have 4 activated on this one, which is the instant yield. This one gathers as much as my harvest will allow. Now, if you do that, what you want to do is go ahead and click on the item that you need the most of, and you'll notice I own, 1033 day boost. So if I go ahead and I click on this, now, first of all, it's going to give me a boost in general, but also when I go to click this, it's going to give me the boosted amount. So whatever the max amount is based on that boost, I'll receive that in one harvest just by clicking that button. And you can only do that every 12 hours. So I try to do it in the evening and in the morning. Then there's the emergency recall. If you are going into battle, always, always, always have this available to you. Reason being is if you are attacking somebody, and all of a sudden, some Castle 30 ports in pretty close to you, you're going to want to hit that button, and then you're going to want to shield pretty fast. Or, if you're happening to march back, you can actually advance port to a new location. But make sure that you do that ASAP. It's easier to hit this button and then shield, or you can't shield before you hit the button if you're attacking, or advance port away. You cannot random port away. So that's a little FYI there. When it comes to monster stamina, I can tell you right now, more often than not, I forget to use this one. But it's really important because it helps save you some time. You'll notice that up here I have a full green bar. If I were to click on that, and if I had troops in my castle right now, I could go out and kill a whole bunch of monsters for a lot less stamina. And that way I can get more resources. I try to go after the food ones and potentially better scroll options. So that's really, imperative. Now, going back to these, Peace Shield, clearly pretty obvious. I normally go after the 24-hour one to protect the resources. I'll show you my other two castles. I don't keep castles shielded unless they have something to protect. So very rarely you'll see all of my castles shielded. If you do, it's because I'm hiding something. There's no other reason why you'd use a shield. Why use one when your castle's empty? They're too expensive to keep using. So anti-scout, sometimes what I'll do is I'll play with this one a little bit, depending on the situation. We have some allies that, well, they're not allies. They're our enemies. We have some enemies that tend to be just big assholes. No offense, guys, if you're watching or listening, however you want to look at it. But they tend to be big dicks. So they try to actually, sneak in and just be really, really ridiculous with some comments in case you're trying to pull out people to make really poor judgment. I don't really play that game so much. I'll kind of poke the bear a little bit, but I try to stay as clean as possible. With them, what they'll do is they'll tend to march on a castle and then hope you're not watching, or maybe they're just trying to see if you are watching, and so then I'll send my troops in that direction, which is very clever because then you're able to kind of move your enemy as you want. Now, the thing is I'm pretty keen on this sneaky little tactic, so they can cause me to move in a direction if they want, but only if I choose to. In the meantime, then they'll scout my castle, thinking that maybe I am not using my anti-scout, which normally I'll put on the 2-hour anti-scout, or maybe not at all. Maybe I'm trying to lure them in. So it's a matter of how you want to play that game. Now, the attack. Alright, so you've got a few options here. 25%. If you're going out and you're attacking people, spend the 400 gold. Because that's going to be your best bet. Now, if you're like a 13 castle and you're going against a 28 castle, you're going to die. I don't care what kind of buff you have, you're just going to die. So it's just not going to work out. Now, let me go back. Didn't mean to get out of that. Defense. When I'm attacking, I normally use the very best defense, the very best attack, and then that way I'm somewhat protected in case I'm caught off guard, which has happened, by the way. So, it will happen at some point. If you play the game enough, you're going to make a mistake. Nobody's perfect in this game. So just be aware of that. And then, let's see, anything else that I haven't talked about here? No. Let me talk about the other kind of buff. So if you were to go, there's a couple ways you can get to it. You can either go by Great Hall, go to Avalon, and then click on some stuff there. This is kind of a long way. So you go to Titles. These are considered buffs right here. And if you get these, they're kind of nice. So let's say for this one, you get +5 construction, research, training speed. That's nice. Charles has +10% troop attack. Those are really nice. Now, if you happen to get one of these are debuffs. So, march speed, -10%. Some people choose that one just to be funny. But you'll notice that we have a few people with debuffs. And so, -5% march speed, and then +5% training cost. I don't know if they understand, but that one really does not hurt him much, because he's spending to get that anyway. So if you really wanted to do some damage, let's see, I'm looking to see if there's a better one for him. I would do that one. Because the reason being is because he most often reinforces somebody else, so you'd want him to have less opportunity to withstand an attack and less troops to be able to do it. So that one's a better option for him, but I'm just sharing that because I just noticed. So if you have any questions about the buffs or debuffs, let me know. For the most part, there's a variety out there, and depending on your armor, which in this castle, my armor is just kind of crap, but, you know, that kind of gives you an idea of what exactly you have in regard to your armor. So, hope you find that helpful, and happy gaming.